Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first Holden Healthcare live stream. Today we have David Holden, Senior Naturopath and Nutritional Biochemist, and myself, Gerald Lopez, Resilience Coach. Today we're going to talk about resilience and especially in resilience in this time of COVID. A lot of people are worried about the COVID situation in terms of their physical health, and they're also having concerns in terms of their emotional health, anxiety, worry, and and even mental mental distress. So we're going to talk about how you can build up your resilience and how you can build your defense against stress, and in fact thrive through stress and grow through stress and become more of yourself. So we're going to talk about four types of resilience. Physical resilience, we're going to talk about emotional resilience, mental resilience, and also, by the way, we'll talk about spiritual resilience. So here we have David, who's gonna expand on who's been practicing for over 30 years and who is an expert on physical resilience and the different ways you can build that up and how it interlinks with the other forms of resilience. So David, yes, welcome, and yes, nice to have you on board.
Yeah, cool. So what is resilience in the scheme of things? If you have a well state and you practice wellness as a part of your lifestyle, then resilience automatically follows that. So that's about eating right, exercising right, thinking right, responding right, emoting right, and being connected to your life purpose. So we're going to be talking about all of those four areas: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual resilience. On the physical level, if you're eating food that doesn't suit your metabolic type, if your natural blood type is to be more vegetarian, vegan, and you're not, or you prefer to eat meats and you don't, that can throw your metabolism out and your biochemistry. There are things you can do to stay a vegetarian even if you're not the right blood type, but there's certain nutrients that you need to be getting more of, like B12, particularly iron and protein. And so there's lots of vegetarian, vegan options these days for those people. But I want to talk about specifically in the COVID era, what you can do to boost your immune resilience, which is interlinked to your physical, your emotional, and your mental, and when we go into it later, your spiritual. So having all these ducks in a row really helps. On the physical level, if your diet is low in vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, and specific herbs that can boost your immune response, like elderberry, echinacea, garlic, they activate your immune response, so it's on guard, actively fighting breathed in airborne viruses, bacteria, and fungi, which we're exposed to all the time. It hasn't just suddenly switched on because COVID's here. It's been with us all the time, but our immune system has developed nutritional pathways to activate your antigens so that you actively attack and defend these invaders. So making sure that you're taking plenty of vitamin D in winter. We're in summer in the southern hemisphere, so you don't have to have so much vitamin D. But one article, excuse me, I just put on our latest newsletter, just gone out, and if you don't get our newsletter, go on to holdenhealthcare.com and sign up for it. Lots of free tips and information and special deals about who's practicing at the center and what they're doing. Anyway, and you won't find it out any other way, so that's a really good place to start. What we're doing is, in this newsletter, the last one I mentioned about, if you're out sunbathing and you go inside and wash with soap and water, if you've done that within 5 hours of sun exposure, you've washed all the vitamin D down the plug hole, because it forms a sebum on your skin and it takes, if you're younger, 4, maybe 3 hours. If you're older, like over 50, 5, maybe 6 hours to fully absorb into the body. Now, if you want to have a shower, you've been to the beach, you've got salt water on, you've got sand everywhere, then by all means have a warm water shower, but don't use any soap. Don't even use any shampoo. Use that the next day, when your body's had a chance to absorb all the vitamin D3. And you don't need to take supplements, but do be aware, if you've got sensitive skin like I have, being a whitey, then I've got to wear sunblock, or I'd prefer to wear wide brim hats and cover up, slip, slap, slop, and don't get too much exposure. For those of you that are blessed with an olive skin, more like Gerald's tone or even richer, then like my old reception manager Jax, then you've got that beautiful olive complexion already, and you have some resilience automatically, genetically, from the sun. But for those of you that don't have that sun UV resilience, then just avoid the bright light at the peak of the day and make sure that you do wear a good natural sunblock. And there's several available in health food stores. The Jason brand is one of the better ones, and they do a waterproof SPF 30 and an SPF 50. So that's from in the summer in the southern hemisphere, boosting resilience. The virus isn't so much of an issue in New Zealand because we've just come out of level 3 lockdown, as most people know, in Auckland. So, we've really been very, very lucky in New Zealand with the whole viral thing. So it's not going to be so much of an issue. But this winter it could well be. And I would encourage people to look at taking, again, vitamin D, vitamin C, preferably lipospheric, zinc, particularly for men, and selenium, particularly for children. And those are really good nutrients to boost your physical resilience. And now Gerald will talk a little bit about emotional and mental resilience and how that dovetails in with the physical. You can't really separate them all because they all affect each other, don't they, Gerald?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I was just checking that Facebook is not opening for some people, so I'm not sure what's happening there. If you're on, please write a comment and say you're on. Yes, certainly, they all come together. And in fact, today I was going to talk about a little bit about the heart and its role. And we'll come back to the physical side, because I wanted to ask you, David, also around in terms of resilience around exercise and yoga and things like that, how they build up resilience. But
definitely.
Yes, we've been told, and in fact, when I studied anatomy and physiology, the anatomy book, which was about this thick, told the first paragraph it said about the heart was, the heart is just a pump. And yeah. The funny thing is, in the last 25, 30 years, they found that the heart is much more than a pump. And in fact, there's some really fascinating research, which we might talk about later. But what they found is that the heart is not just a pump. It's actually, it's a nervous system of its own. So in fact, it's a brain of its own. And you can take the heart out of the body, put it in ice, and then put it into somebody else, and the heart will kickstart itself. It doesn't need the brain to kickstart it. It starts by itself. So that's just because it has its own nervous system. Not only that, the heart is an endocrine gland, and an endocrine gland is a gland that produces hormones. And what they've discovered is that the heart produces more oxytocin than the brain itself. And as you know, oxytocin is the bonding molecule. It's the mother's molecule. It's what causes us to love each other and give us warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah, it's oxytocin secreted in huge amounts during breastfeeding for both the baby and the mother.
That's
to create that emotional bonding and connection. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And the third thing is that they found that the heart is a powerful electromagnetic transmitter, and so it's transmitting EMFs or pulses through the system all the time. And so in fact, the heart is talking to every cell of the body all the time, and they've studied that. Interestingly enough, which we'll talk about it later, is that electromagnetic force then goes out of our body and into other people's bodies and interacts with other people's electromagnetic force. And a person who has a heart that is in good health, that is coherent, which I'll talk about in a minute, can actually induce good feelings in other people. So it's actually a relationship thing as well.
It's like vibes. It's like when you go to a party or a social situation or even a work situation and you connect with the vibe of the person. You do it subconsciously. Your energetic field interacts with theirs, and it's either spiky and gritty, or it's smooth and easy, or it's a combination. Your gut feeling is telling you how your heart is cohering or not with those other people, isn't it?
And I probably on another live stream we'll talk about the gut brain, because the gut itself has its own nervous system. And this is what I discovered when I was an Ayurvedic practitioner, is that if you want to treat a person's nervous system, you can actually treat them through the colon.
And we know that if by taking different probiotics, you can determine different emotional and immune states in one's body.
That's
correct. The 2.5 kilos of bacteria in your gut is considered another organ that's vibrating at a specific frequency, like a morphic resonance, which affects your brain and your other centers: the gut brain, the heart brain, the head brain.
So that's right. And so the heart being a kind of a communication organ, which they decided it has to communicate. I mean, why have all these things? It communicates to the brain. And what they found is that the amount of messaging going to the brain, between the heart and brain, is more than the messaging that comes from the brain to the heart. So, which leads some researchers to think that actually the heart could be even commanding or could be guiding the brain more than we think. And the heart talks to the primitive brain, the amygdala, the emotional brain. It also talks to the cortex, which is the modern brain,
the frontal cortex of consciousness and higher thought.
Rational thinking, problem solving, and all those things.
And also happiness and purpose as well.
That's right. So then they discovered that when someone is upset or distressed or anxious, the heart goes into what is called non-coherence, which means that means that the heart, as you know, the heart, you have your heart rate, it's 60 or 80 or whatever it is, but the heart rate is never the same. If it was the same, it would mean you're on a pacemaker. So if you're not on a pacemaker, your heart is actually going up to 80 or 75 or whatever, down to 55 or whatever.
And that's heart variability.
And that is the heart variability.
Which can be measured with an instrument.
Which can be measured. And so what they found is when the heart variability is erratic, it's correlated with anxiety states, panic attacks, foggy brain, the
fear,
brain,
memory loss.
So you remember when maybe probably not you, David, but some of us, when going for an exam or something, or public speaking, suddenly everything goes blank, and like everything you prepared is like you don't know where it is.
Meltdown.
It's a meltdown. That's right. And this is what happens on a less extreme level daily when we are not resilient. We have these mini meltdowns. And then we have anxiety, we have tension, we respond badly to stress. Now, and then on top of that, when the heart is not coherent, when it's erratic, it has knock-on effects on the physical body as well. And
your thinking. It'll affect your thinking, make it more erratic.
Exactly.
Which will affect your mental health directly.
So now, the opposite of this erratic movement is called heart coherence, and I'll show you if I can get this going. There we go. I'm showing us a slide at the moment, David, and so this is the difference between coherence and heart incoherence. On the left, you will see an incoherent state in which the variability is all jagged, and it indicates it's correlated usually with frustration, irritation, anxiety, and worry. And then on the right there is a nice sine wave It's going up and down, really nice and smooth and beautiful. And that is called coherence. And that correlates with positive emotions, appreciation, love, and care, and good health. So,
wonderful.
Yeah. And so through the research that people have done around the heart, they're realizing that now they're really seeing that, emotions, physical health, mental clarity, and your spiritual well-being are all interlinked and, as you said earlier, interrelated, influencing each other.
In an interdependent state, really. And so all of them affect each other, and that's why it's important to not just take care. I talked about some foods and supplements and herbs that you can use, and your physical resilience is improved dramatically by having some time every day, even if it's only 20 minutes, in some form of meditation.
Yes.
Not relaxation or contemplation's good.
Yes.
And after a while, as an experienced meditator, you end up contemplating a lot of the time anyway.
That's
but
right.
having some time to switch off and watch the monkey mind throwing its thoughts back and forth, not getting attached to them, just letting them go, helps calm down the mind, going into an alpha state where mental equanimity and resilience is easier to reach. So that's another aspect. You can do that by practicing yoga, certain postures, tai chi, certain forms, and qigong, certain exercises to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So they need to be a part of your everyday lifestyle, some form of yoga or qigong or tai chi, and definitely some meditation in there.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and they've been doing a lot of research with mindfulness meditation and how it can affect your whole body and your mind and emotions. I'm gonna show you another slide. This is called Depletion to Renewal. So this slide shows. I know you can't see it, David, but it should appear on the video. Finally somebody's connected. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. So on the left you will see is the depletion states, and on the right renewal. So our emotions can be either depleting in energy or renewing in energy. And on the left we've got it's a cross. There's a left and a right, so depletion and renewal, and then an up and a down, which is high and low. So there's a high stimulation state and a low stimulation state. So a high depletion state would be anger, anxiety. They're sympathetic nervous system, and they're like that, high energy.
So they really jar the system.
Yes. While the super low ones are like apathy and sadness and depression
and not being able to get off your butt and do stuff.
That's right. Then on the sort of neutral side, there's resentment, frustration. It's between high and low, and when we often have these states during the day, whether it's often or all the time, it then leads towards the end of the day towards depletion. We actually feel depleted, and when we get home, or even in fact probably even by lunchtime, we might feel that we need a coffee or something, or halfway in the afternoon we feel like what time do I go home, or by the time we get home we're too knackered to talk to the kids or have a nice time with our partner or whatever. So these emotions deplete our energy. So what we need to do is to find ways to shift those emotions to the renewal emotions, which is the high renewal emotions are happiness, excitement, joy, anticipation, and the low ones, the low energy ones, the calm energy ones are calmness, contentment, serenity. And then the medium between high and low is love and appreciation. And what we find is when we are in those states, then we get more secretion of DHEA, the hormone DHEA,
and serotonin and dopamine.
And those are really important for our good feeling, our well-being, but also slowing down aging.
Well, they affect our neurochemistry significantly, which will have a profound effect on your emotional and mental state.
Right. Yeah. So, and how do we affect these emotions? Through inducing heart coherence.
Now, this machine, this device you've got, actually shows you graphically
Yes.
whether you're in heart coherence or not, and how you can go into it and watch the machine change in real time.
That's right. So if I show you the that little graph I showed, the machine will show you second to second how your heart rate variability is working, and so this is a machine created by HeartMath, who've been doing a lot of research over 25 years.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. And they've come out with hundreds of papers, and there've been also hundreds of independent papers about the system.
And they developed this equipment for practitioners like us to use,
Yes.
and for patients to use at home to monitor their progress in getting into heart coherence.
That's right. So, okay, so what happens is, say if you come to see me for a session, what I'll do is I'll take an initial reading of yours and to see where you are, how your heart is at the time. Then I will take you through a particular routine or technique or meditation or something, and show you how you can instantly induce coherence in your heart. And then over 6 weeks, because once you discover that technique and you discover how to induce heart coherence, then you want to lock it in. You want to make it a habit, so that all those little moments of anxiety or worry that happen during the day, which you don't notice because usually they're below the radar, they're under your consciousness. You are distracted by your work that you do. But all these little frustrations or negative depleting emotions happen through the day, which then are depleting your energy. But once you get into the habit of inducing heart coherence, then you become very sensitive to when that happens, and then you can catch it. And when you catch it, then you do a little emergency heart coherence technique, and then switch that emotion, and you do that several times a day. And then after a while, you actually develop this habit of catching it as it's coming,
do it automatically,
bang, deal with it, and it's gone. And
it's exactly the same as the concept of John Kehoe's of weeding the garden, pulling out the negative thoughts and disposing of them. And as a technique he teaches me, have a negative thought, you cut it in half with a pair of scissors, and get rid of it and replace it with the exact opposite thought. And you'll find after a few weeks of doing this, even a week, it becomes automatic. You just think of it, don't even think of it, you just do it automatically. Yes. And that way you cull these negatives out of your thinking process, which is another way of doing the same thing.
That's right. And the reason why it's so powerful, I mean, lots of people have done all sorts of workshops and techniques and whatever, but a lot of these workshops and techniques are kind of intellectual. They're kind of theory and all that. But what we are discovering now is, if we want to make real change in ourselves, we have to engage the body as well, through the heart brain, the gut brain, and the what do you call it, the head brain.
Right. And that's where whole body mind systems like yoga and tai chi and qigong really come into play, because you're not just exercising the physical body when you do any of these exercise forms.
Yes.
You're relaxing the mind, you're enhancing positive emotions, and you're connecting with your divine source, whatever you consider that to be.
Yes. Yes.
So it doesn't matter, we'll talk a little bit about the spiritual stuff now, because, it doesn't matter what religion you are. If you have a spiritual belief system or you have a formal religion, fantastic, because the research shows that you've got a 25%, which is more than double the placebo effect, more than 25% extra healing ability to get success with whatever condition it is that you might be wanting to treat or work on, if you have a condition. If you don't have a condition, then being open to the divine and the divine plan and whatever you perceive that to be for yourself and your own life will propel you forwards with a projected positivity and a drive and a purpose to get stuff done for why you came here, were born here, into your physical body right now. And that's powerful, and nothing replaces that. So
No.
having a belief system, regardless of what it is, whether it's a scientist who believes in intelligent design, or a Hindu, or a Buddhist, or a Christian, or a Muslim, doesn't matter what. If you've got a belief system, use it, practice that belief system, because it will bring you much more peace and equanimity to your soul, which will calm your mind and quieten the heart and dampen the emotions.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true.
And I talk a little bit about, just mention one thing, Gerald, while I'm thinking of it. The research of Dr. Emoto, which many of the listeners would have heard of, Japanese researcher back in the 1980s, who got 3 vials of water in different rooms. One vial, he just projected love and gratitude and happiness and lots of positive emotions towards it for 5 minutes every day. Another room, he ignored the vial completely whenever he was in the room for 5 minutes a day minimum. And then the last room, he went in there and he fired anger and vehemence and violent thoughts and wanting to destroy the vial of water, and all those negatives. After a month, just 1 month, he came back, and the positive one, the water crystals, when he put them out and dried them and put them under a microscope, beautiful, even crystals like snowflakes, everyone individual, perfectly formed. Yeah. The ones that were ignored were distorted and ruptured, and there was a lot of black energy in the crystalline matrix, and the negative ones weren't that much worse than the ones that were ignored. So it just showed you that water, which our bodies are 65 to 70% of, holds emotion, holds the frequency and the vibration of these frequencies that we're vibrating in, and we can change that. And HeartMath and the stuff that Gerald's talking about, which you'll mention more of in a minute, helps you change that state to more positive and less negative.
Yeah. So it's what David is saying. It's about bringing coherence into water as well. In fact, coherence, it's about resonating with the frequencies of the earth. And they've been doing some research as well. HeartMath actually have stations, and they have one in New Zealand which measures the Earth's Schumann resonance, and they've got these stations around the world.
7.8 hertz, yeah.
That's right. And what they're finding is that there's a correlation between that resonance and around situations around the world, but also around our well-being when we resonate with that resonance. Yeah. So then we become coherent with the earth. And that, in fact, you could say that when we become coherent with the earth, we become coherent with nature. We resonate with nature. And that, in effect, is spiritual resonance or spiritual coherence.
Definitely. So can I mention a couple of things here? Now, for some of you who've just been taken by what Gerald said before about having a head brain, a gut brain, we have a practitioner at the clinic, Vivian Berry, who specializes in balancing the head with the heart with the gut. If you don't do that, you could be thinking one thing, feeling another, and your gut's telling you something completely different, disperses your energy in 3 directions. Particularly for some of our very ill patients with cancer and others, we get the head, the heart, the gut all in a line, so they're all going in the same direction. Automatically increases the potency and power of what you're doing and gives you more purpose and more direction, etc. So that's a very, very important part of what we're talking about. And Gerald, you've developed a 6-week course on resilience training. Can you tell the viewers and listeners a bit about that, please? Because that sounds really interesting, and it's quite a good deal you've got offered. Sure.
Yes, I bring in a whole range. I've been studying the mind body for ever since I was a teenager, basically. But I've done various things like Aikido martial arts with Ki. So Ki is Chi, which is energy. I've done yoga.
Prana, life force,
that's
vitality.
Right. I've taught yoga. I've taught yoga teachers. I've lectured on yoga in tertiary colleges. And I've studied mind-body healthcare at AUT. What was your question again, David? What I do. Yeah, so I incorporate.
Together,
Yes, I bring all that together, And using the HeartMath as a foundation, I use the HeartMath to assess you when you come in to see where you're at in terms of the stress level of your heart and your heart rate variability. Then using those objective measures, we then learn some techniques. We go through various experiences where you can actually experience deep relaxation, where you can actually learn techniques that you can take home, and I show you ways that you can build up a habit of building resilience by yourself. So then you become empowered to actually deal with whatever it is, whether you are suffering serious illness, and this is excellent for people who are going through oncology programs or whatever they're doing, mainstream health treatments, but also for people who are suffering from anxiety and different mental health issues, addictions, and all those, or even for someone who wants to clarify their purpose. Through COVID, they may have lost their job, they're not sure what to do in life, and they really want to find. So all these can be dealt with using Heart Coherence and the tools that I introduce to you according to your needs.
So for people in the corporate world who are watching this or listening to this, they're in the tourism industry or hospitality, it's very uncertain. There's a lot of anxiety about, are they going to lose their job this week? Are they going to be locked down next month when that big wedding's planned that's going to bring in, $10,000 to the business, and suddenly they're locked down and they can't do it.
They can only have 10 people.
It's stressful times for a lot of people. So you're teaching and we're teaching techniques that you can use in your everyday life that won't take you very long, that make all the difference between, is the glass half full or is it half empty? It's your choice.
That's right. And also, not only does it help you to manage that stress of the uncertainty and come into a place where you actually can go flow with the situation more. But having done that, then it clears your mind for creative solution finding and problem solving. And so it enables people then to come out with innovative solutions that will actually take advantage of this situation and maybe find another way to do their business, or another way to attract people, or whatever it is. And people are doing that all the time. Some people have come with some amazing ideas to do business or work or whatever.
Sure. So these treatments, and this is a 6-week course that you put together. It's done online.
Yeah.
So
in person to start, but you can then afterwards online.
People can get access to you. They can text you questions. They can ask you, I don't understand this. Can you go over such and such with me?
That's right.
That's all covered in the course, isn't
and
it?
You're given lots of resources, ebooks, all sorts of materials according to your time that you have, according to your needs, according to how you like taking content and how you like learning things. So all those will be provided. And also what we are offering,
visual or auditory or even kinesthetic.
That's right. And what we are offering at the moment on a limited level is for the first few people who come in, is because I am just introducing this program. For the first few people who come in, they can actually borrow a HeartMath portable machine that they can take home and measure their heart rate, their heart coherence, so they can actually see for themselves how they're doing with their program.
Great. So you've got objective tools that can measure this. Now, when people come in and see us as part of this resilience program, I'm doing the physical side of it, and we use a questionnaire here called an HAQ. And this enables me to graph all the nutritional biochemistry sections of you, like your stomach, your pancreas, your adrenals, your heart, whether you sleep well or not, whether your blood sugar is stable, if your sex hormones are in balance or out. Very useful questionnaire. These all get sent you when you make your first appointment. This one here called the Mood and Stress Questionnaire, which picks up if you do have high anxiety or depression or stress or worry, and we can deal with it, and that gives us a direction we can go in with treatment to make sure that we remove those symptoms and the causes simultaneously. We also go through a diet sheet to find out what you're eating and if there's any foods that are dragging your mood and energy down, like addictive foods, lots of sugar. Some people react to cow's milk, some people react to wheat, some people react to colored spices in different foods. Everyone's a bit different, so we tailor make that plan for you, and we also have a detailed questionnaire on your medical history and your exercise levels and what you're doing, if anything. So that's a very thorough write-up, and that's included in the first hour and a half consult that I do as my segment with people that want the support on the physical and emotional levels particularly. And we've got a wide skill set of practitioners in the clinic that can target specific areas so that we know that we're hitting the mark. So if you've got a thyroid problem, we pick it up very early, and we deal with that because you're going to have problems with weight, with energy issues if your thyroid isn't sorted out, same as your adrenal glands. So they need to be made sure they're correct, and we do that as part of the testing. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with the machine and how you teach people to use this as an everyday tool to know if they're in heart coherence or not?
Yes, well, what I thought we could do is do a little experience where I'll take you through probably a couple of minutes or three of one of the most basic things that I teach people to help them induce heart coherence. And normally when I take them through this little experience, they will see for themselves how their erratic movement, which may have been erratic, will then become nice and smooth.
Now, something I want to share that I saw, I showed this clip 3 times to patients this last week from Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a neuroscientist. And if you go onto YouTube and just put Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, you'll get lots of interesting information and guided meditations just to give you an idea. And he explains the neuroscience of what's happening in your brain when you go into this coherent, equanimous state. And so it's a state that you relax deeply. And he suggests that when you wake up in the morning, don't get stuck into your routine of switching on your cell phone, logging on to Facebook, checking WhatsApp, sending some texts, getting caught into the busyness of the day and other people's dramas. Try and switch off from that. Give yourself some time just to center. Go into the heart and relax, and you don't just disconnect from technology for a while until you absolutely have to use it, because technology, Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, electronic frequencies irritate the nervous system. And that's why it's so good. Another good tip for you, always turn your Wi-Fi off at night so you can sleep in a more relaxed, harmonious space. And when you don't need Wi-Fi at home, switch it off.
Yes. That's why in yoga they call the early morning time Brahma Muhurta, which is literally, it means Brahma's hour. But the reason is that they realize that it's that time which is the best time to set yourself up for the rest of the day. So be very mindful of what you're thinking of, what you're doing, what you're exposing yourself to in those early hours or early time just after you've woken up. So so we've come to any questions, anyone? I'm not sure whether we've had, I believe there have been problems trying to get onto Facebook. I can't open Facebook, so I don't know whether anyone actually got onto Facebook. Michelle
maybe an example of this war that's going on with Australia at the moment. Maybe this
it could
is fallout.
be. Yeah.
Anyway, this is being recorded, so if you do have questions of Gerald or myself about the 6-week resilience package that Gerald will mention, the special deal that's on in a minute, and what we can do to support your wellness, your resilience, we're here to help. That's what we do. We have 8 practitioners now, all well qualified in their specific fields, and Gerald is bringing this huge resource of research that he's done over the years on Ayurveda, yoga, Aikido, blended into a resilience package. So Gerald, you tell a bit about how the nuts and bolts of the package work. It's 6 weeks long, what it costs, and that you're offering an introductory special deal.
Yes. So I highly recommend that. I mean, you can do one session. One session is $150 for today. For those who are on this show, if you are on this show, it's 10% off, and so that's $135. But I highly recommend that you do the 6-week program, because within a coaching environment, you are supported. You're not confused by too much information. I feed it to you bit by bit, so we build it up. And so then you build up that skill set, and you build up that capability to be able to practice this all the time, and so that it becomes more and more the way you are and the way you live. So at the moment, it's once a week. We meet up for an hour or so, probably a bit longer. So it's $720 for today. For those who are on this live stream, it's less 10%, so that's $648. So just book in before the end of February, and put their live stream or just mention live stream, and you can have your 10% off. So I really hope that you'll take advantage of that. In Holden Healthcare, we work as an integrative team, so it's really ideal to address if you do have health concerns, to actually go and see David or one of the other naturopaths, David or Marion, in the first instance to get a physical assessment, and as you know, all the assessments that David mentioned, and then come to see me if you're just dealing with emotional or mental issues, or if you are seeing David, say for instance, as a cancer patient, then I highly recommend that you come and see me as well, because what we do together helps people who are undergoing the stress of life-threatening illnesses. And not only it's not just the illness, but it's the process that they go through within the medical system, and having to change their diets and having to change their lives. All those are stressful. So I help you through that process of changing what needs to be changed, making choices that need to be made. So yes, feel free to talk to me. Just give me a call. We've got 10-minute free consultations. If you're not sure, just give me a call, book a session, and we can talk for 10 minutes and see whether this is for you or not.
Yeah, so that's a really important part, what Gerald's just mentioned. All our practitioners have agreed to 10-minute free phone consults to see if that practitioner is a good fit for you, if what they do is likely to get a result and going to work for you. Obviously, with some cases, it's very hard to say, but as I say to even people who've been told they're terminal with cancer, the bare minimum, we can improve your quality of life and give you more time. And in many cases, we can do way better than that. And we've got lots of patients that were told they were going to die in 6 months, a year's time, and they're still alive many years later. So, you know, it depends on where you're at, where this is at, and how, you know, much dedication you're putting to getting yourself really well. We've got the team and the expertise to do it. We'd love to help you. Take advantage of the free 10-minute phone call. Contact us, holdenhealthcare.com, 09-282-3588, 09-282-3588. Leave a message, and I or one of the practitioners will get back to you, and you can ask as many questions as you want.
Yeah. So David, I don't think people are connecting We haven't
That's
had
fine.
any questions, but you'll be able to see the recording of this. We'll put it up.
And it's a good exercise to have gone through this too, because
Yeah.
I like how we work together.
Yeah.
And we want to get the other practitioners onto this as well.
Yes. So, folks, over the next few weeks, we hope to have more of our practitioners on board to come and explain.
We will be having other practitioners on board.
Who will tell you what they do. We've got an awesome array of talent in Holden Healthcare.
Michelle Boyle, constitutional homeopath, energy healer. Suzanne Morning, medical intuitive clairvoyant. Vivian Berry, holographic kinetics, triple brain integration. Antonio Palmero, acupuncturist, body worker supreme, who teaches Tai Chi Qigong. Gerald, who does his resilience training, Ayurvedic practitioner training work. He does amazing stuff with the HeartMath machine. And myself and Marion, the two male-female naturopaths, we do the key work with cancer. So we've got a whole range, and we've also got a new doctor just joined our team, Dr. Mitch Bloom, who does acupuncture and medical hypnosis, and particularly prolotherapy and neural prolotherapy for people who have had accidents or injuries to the physical structure and are in pain and need to get out of pain. He's an integrative pain specialist doctor.
Yeah.
So we've got a great lineup of practitioners. We can help you. If we can't help you, we know someone who can.
Yeah. So great to have you on board. Howard, thanks for joining us. Good to see someone else. And Michelle, lovely to see you. So we'll see you next time then. Thanks for joining us.
We will. And this recording will be on our website too. Thank you very much, Gerald, and for all of you, those of you listening.